Pretty Girl Club. Welcome back to the Storytime series. This is a story time that kind of relates to my decentering men journey, and this is just one of many stories as far as why I am no longer friends with men. So, you guys know that I live in this building. So, the building I live in, it's like these nice luxury apartments. And when I first moved here, I went to all of these different fitness groups. So, you know how they have groups where, like, maybe you go walking or hiking, or they have like volleyball groups, or at least in my city, they have like sand volleyball groups and stuff like that. So, I moved into this beautiful building and I went to this one group where it was basically like this boot camp. It was like a fitness boot camp. And so there were lots of people there, there were people of all races there. So I started going to this little fitness thing, and all of the black guys, there were so many black guys there. Like, there were a lot of black girls that went to this group. I could tell that they were going there because there were a lot of black guys there. You know those guys where it's like they have the dreads and they're like buff, or they have like tattoos and shit, and like they wear chains and all that. Yeah, so there were those guys there, and I've noticed that seems to be a very popular type, I guess, for some women. So there were a lot of girls that would show up, a lot of black girls that would show up to this little fitness thing. I was new to the city, so I was just trying to go to as many free events that I could go to. So I went there, and you guys already know, of course, every single guy, well, actually, no, not every guy, but guys, they would try to talk to the girls. They'd be like, hey, what's up? Like, I remember when I walked up to this freaking boot camp, we are literally at a park. This little fitness boot camp, it was at a very beautiful, very nice, classy park. I was not in the ghetto. I was not in the hood. I was shocked at how all it took was a couple of ratchet ass people to go and trash it up. So I walk up to this little fitness thing, and of course, this random guy, he had like the skinny braids. So you know the guys that have like their hair cut in a fade, but then it's like long at the top. So it's like they're trying to do a man bun, but they can't put their hair in a bun. So they like braid it, and then the braids hang down, and then they put it in a bun. So he had one of those types of hairstyles. So he literally had a man bun and a bayang. And he was wearing like a chain, and literally it smelled like weed and shit. I'm like, how is it that a fitness thing at a beautiful park in the middle of the suburbs randomly smells like weed? So I walked up to it, and this guy immediately walks up to me. He's like, hey, did you come to see me? Hey, baby girl, what you doing? You know, that sort of thing. And I'm like, oh God, here we go. And I was like, oh yeah, like, is this where the group is? And he's like, yeah, this is where the group gonna be. They just gonna come over here in a couple of minutes, I'm just waiting for everybody else to get here. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I went to this group. I actually kept going to the group because I ended up making two friends there. So my goal was to like make girlfriends and stuff. And so one day I was coming back to my building from this group, and one of the guys who was a part of the group, he was an unambiguous monoracial black man. He was like, hey, so he literally recognizes my car. So that's red flag number one. Who's memorizing people's cars, and like who memorizes their license plates and shit? Like that's very sketchy, but okay. So this guy memorizes my car, and he's like, oh, hey, I saw you in the red car. You were parked in the lot at that fitness event. And I was like, oh, yeah. And he was like, yeah, I also thought I saw your car at this other fitness group down the street the weekend afterwards. Like, weren't you there? I thought I saw you there. Were you wearing a blue shirt? This guy had already memorized what I was wearing and the type of car that I was driving. So that's a red flag right there. First of all, the entire fitness group was a red flag. But I just wanted to make friends and stuff. So I was like, yeah. And then he was like, so do you live in this building? And I was like, yeah. And then I started walking towards like my building, and he was like walking towards the building with me. And then I find out this guy, he lives in my building. So not only did this guy live in my building, he literally lived within like 2 floors of me in the building. So you know how they have like the tall apartment buildings or whatever? So I was like, whatever, not a big deal. And I was so dumb. This was actually not that long ago, but I did not view these things as red flags because I didn't grow up around the black community. So I really had no idea. I didn't have all of these negative stereotypes of unambiguous black women and men or anything like that. So I didn't think anything of it. And then he told me about how the group, one of the fitness groups, they have a group chat. So it's like a texting group chat or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And he was like, yeah, so if you give me your number, I can add you to the group chat. And I was like, oh, okay, it's fine, sure. And so that was actually mistake number two. This is another reason why I don't have guy friends, because I just feel like you can't just have a conversation and walk away. It seems as if they will always try to push it. So it's like, first they're just talking to you, then they're trying to get your number, then they want to know where you live, then they want to know if you have a boyfriend. So I was like, okay, whatever, like thinking I'm going to be added to the group. And there actually was a group chat. So he did add me to the group chat, and like nothing creepy happened yet or anything. And so I remember I was texting the group one day saying, oh, I'm not going to be able to make it to the boot camp this time because my car broke down. Like, it's in the shop right now. And so this guy, he was like, oh, I can give you a ride because we live in the same building. And so this is actually another red flag. Getting into a car with a guy that you don't really know that well. So let me give you some background, first of all. This particular guy, he was not like the other guy who was like the one with the man bun, like the super ghetto guy. He was not like that. So this guy, just for some background, he was an accountant. You know, obviously, if you live in my building that I live in, you have to have a certain income. So, but this guy, he's an accountant. He obviously graduated from college and all that stuff. He doesn't have any kids or anything. He was around my age. You know, I'm in my 30s. He's in his 30s. And so he actually seemed pretty normal. So another thing that made me feel safer with this guy at first was one of my friends. She was an unambiguous, monoracial, dark-skinned black woman. So she was also a part of the fitness group, and she was like, oh yeah, he seems really cool. Let's call him Tyrone. She was like, oh yeah, Tyrone, he seems really cool, and he's like really nice, and he seems really classy and everything, and he looks good or whatever. And so I was thinking, okay, if my friend, I know my friend, like she's a very sweet girl, she's very classy, or at least I view her as classy. So I was thinking, okay, if she emotionally trusts this guy and, you know, kind of likes him or whatever, this is not a big deal because, you know, she thinks that he's a good guy. So, you know, he's probably safe or whatever. So I actually said yes, that he could give me a ride because my car broke down and I wanted to go to the fitness group. So this guy gives me a ride. First of all, his car smells like weed. But I was like, you know what? Let me not judge people. You know, sometimes people, they smoke weed. They do like medicinal weed or whatever. So I was like, whatever. That's interesting that he's an accountant and his car smells like weed. I don't know how that would fare at his job, but okay, whatever. And so we show up at the fitness event. And immediately, as soon as all of the other guys saw me get out of the car with this guy, everybody started talking shit. They were like, oh, are you talking to her? Like, they started asking him questions. And I didn't know this at the time. I actually didn't know this until Tyrone told me after the event. He was like, oh yeah, everybody was like asking about you and stuff. Everybody was mentioning it. So that's another learning experience. That was a social climbing mistake. If you are a pretty girl, simply being next to any man of any caliber raises his status and draws attention to him. And so the fact that I even got out of the car, nobody even asked any questions. People were automatically like, oh, wow, who's that? Like, who are you with? Oh, why are you with her? Like, oh, she got out of your car. So people were automatically looking at him as if he's some sort of like alpha male or something because I got out of his car. So that's another reason why I no longer have male friends, because literally you're being used. And I'm not saying that he was trying to specifically use me for status or anything, but I'm just saying that like women have so much inherent social power and value to the point where you simply being seen with a man will make other men and women start oohing and awing and being like, oh, who's that? Oh, why is she with him? You know, what's going on there? So then I become a fucking gossip item for this fitness group. And so that was another thing where I was like, okay, I'm not doing this. And then I remember, so obviously I never rode with him anywhere again, whether my car was in the shop or not. But this guy, he kept on, every time I would see him, he would always bring up dating. He would randomly bring up dates. He would randomly bring up relationships. He started asking me more and more personal questions. So how old are you and stuff like that? I don't consider that to be too bad, even though I will say, generally speaking, if a man is talking to you in any way, in any capacity, I automatically am going to assume that that guy is interested. Because guys, they don't just walk up to a hideous, ugly woman that they are repulsed by and start asking her personal questions. They don't, because a lot of men are extremely shallow. They're not even going to talk to a woman unless he finds her attractive or unless he finds her fuckable. And I know that's very sad, but So every time that he was around me, like at the fitness class, he would randomly bring up dating or like, oh, have you been to this bar? Have you been to that bar? And I'd be like, no, I don't drink. And he'd be like, oh, do you smoke? No, I don't smoke. Oh, do you like going to clubs or anything? So he was always asking random questions like, what do I like to do? Where do I like to go out? Every single week when I would go to this fitness boot camp thing, he would be like, oh, hey, do you want to come to this kickback or this party with me? Or do you want to come to this lounge? And then he would always include mutual friends. So he'd be like, oh, Sarah's going to be there, Tiffany's going to be there, Keisha's going to be there. I'm just making up random names. But he would always say that other girls were going to be there because I guess that was like supposed to make me more convinced to go. But I kept saying no, like, no, thank you. I don't know all of those people. So like, no. But I just feel like he gradually kept pushing and pushing, like trying to get me to hang out with him outside of just this whole fitness setting. And to be honest, the only reason that this guy even had my number was because he told me he was adding me to the fitness thing, which he did. And so that was the only reason. And then, one time when my car was broken down, he happened to give me a ride. That's it. And so I remember one time I came to the fitness group and I happened to be wearing like a cute outfit. You know, those matching like leggings with the matching like top or the little shorts with the little sports bra thing. So I was wearing one of those matching fitness set. And this guy literally tells me, damn, your body looks good. I just want to rub lotion on your ass. So it literally went from just regular basic acquaintances to him constantly asking about dates to him suddenly talking about my body, like specifically bringing up my body and specifically bringing up my ass. By the way, I do not have an ass. Well, I'm like a size medium. I'm tall and I'm pretty slender. I guess I do kind of have a shape. I'm an hourglass, but I don't particularly think my butt is anything special. But he immediately started going into sexualizing me. And it got to the point where I literally was like, okay, this is getting weird. Like, I don't want this to affect my normal social life. And at that time, I had started talking to my boyfriend. He wasn't my boyfriend yet, but I was like, this is weird. Like, I just feel like anytime a guy is your friend, he is either trying to fuck you or he is trying to cock block other men from talking to you. Like, he's trying to cock block non-dusty men from talking to you. I will say, though, I do believe that the majority of men in general are going to end up being a waste of your time, just statistically. But for those of you who do care about that, I mean, yeah, a lot of guys, they're going to either cock block you from something that could be better, or they're going to simply try to use you as a source of status for themselves, or they're literally going to end up harassing you or randomly bringing up sex, randomly bringing up your body. Oh, and another thing that used to happen was this guy, so he followed me on Instagram. He started commenting on all my posts and shit and like commenting on my appearance, like to the point where he was responding to every single one of my stories, and it was just getting weird. And then another thing that he would try to do is he would try to do humbling tactics. So I was wearing my hair natural when I was working out. So my hair is like a type 3. I would say it's maybe like a 3B at best. Or at the tightest, it's probably like a 3B. So I wore my hair in like a ponytail or whatever. And then I noticed that he would make a comment whenever my hair would get frizzy, like if I am working out or whatever at the group, then he would make a comment like, oh, what happened to your hair? And I'm thinking, first of all, you know damn well that my hair looks good. And I'm not trying to be cocky. I'm just saying that my hair, my hair is pretty. 3B hair is highly desirable and very pretty. And I like to wear my hair in like little high buns or like, with the cute little like hair framing my face or hair kind of hanging down in the back, like half up, half down. So I just felt like he also would start doing this thing where he's like nagging me. And I feel like he wouldn't have felt comfortable nagging me if I would have just ignored him from the beginning. So this is another reason why I no longer have male friends, because sometimes I just feel like anytime a man has too much access to you, it's going to lead to disrespect. I mean, that's it. Too much access equals disrespect. And negging is a form of disrespect, in my opinion. So it's like you went from talking about how good I looked to when I'm ignoring you or when I'm, not interested in talking to you, basically, which is like always. Suddenly you're like negging. And I don't like the social interactions that a lot of men have when it comes to female friendships. And so then I was like, okay, I need to end this friendship. I was thinking in my mind, like, he needs to stop talking to me. So then I decided that whenever he would try to talk to me or text me or whatever, I'm just going to mention whatever guy I'm dating. I'm just going to mention, like, oh, I was just on a date or I was doing this. Like, I decided I would just always be mentioning another guy because I just want to be able to see what his intentions are. And like I said, this is back when I was not really on my decentering men journey or anything. So I didn't really know. I was like a little bit more male centered back then. And I noticed that once I talked about dating and stuff, then he basically like backed off. And I remember thinking in my mind, like, why does he even think he has a chance? And this is another thing, like the audacity. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful because I know that this guy, to a lot of black women, he would be considered desirable or whatever. So I'm not trying to I'm not dissing like black features or anything like that. I just feel like anytime a woman opens herself up to a guy emotionally in any capacity, even as a friend, usually that guy has some sort of ulterior motive. So he's either trying to fuck, he wants a girlfriend of some sort, he wants a wife of some sort, he wants to have sex or something. Anything to get you emotionally attached, that's what that guy wants. And so with him, first of all, I didn't even like his personality. Like his overall personality was annoying. I felt like he was kind of nitpicky. You know those guys where they try to pick on the cheerleader, they try to do stuff like that. I just felt like his personality was more like that. And so this is one of many reasons why I no longer have male friends because literally every single time, okay, fine, I won't say every time, 90% of the time, any male friends that I've had, they've been like, they'll either randomly bring up sex, they will randomly try to date you, or they will like confess their love to you or some shit, or they will like try to utilize you so they can increase their status every single time. Or like 90% of the time, that's what it's been. I have never really witnessed men and women being friends to where the man does not have ulterior motives. Even if the guy is LGBT, let's talk about that as well. Maybe I should make another video about that. Guys who they try to say they're LGBT, but then like they will still fuck a woman or they will still, it's like, oh my God, dude, what happened? I thought, anyway, has any of this happened to you guys? What do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.